Well, what about that? What a start to a new lake and a new campaign, eh? Last night I got smashed up by a catfish, actually broke the rod, snapped the rod in two, yes. Went powering into some snags and I tried stopping it and the rod snapped. So I was down to 2 rods, but this rattled off about 10 minutes ago. It's a 28 pound, lovely, lovely long torpedo of a common. And I am. There's loads of flies around. I am over the moon with that. What a result. This one took a Dairy Supreme pop-up over the top of live system. Yeah, I'm trying to get away from the catfish by using a sweeter, sort of creamier bait, and it's not working. It's working for the carp, but it's working for the catfish as well. But oh well, we'll take that. Right, let's slip her back. I've had to completely eliminate boilies altogether from my mix. I started trying sort of a creamy milk protein boilie, which was live system, in the hope that the cats wouldn't like it. Well, I've just seen a carp show right over my rod as well. Yeah, so I've completely switched over to a particle approach, and so far it's been working. I've done about 6 or 7 sessions now. I actually managed a carp on my first night, a beautiful 28 pound common, lovely slate grey, sort of old Bedfordshire fish. It was an absolute corker. Since then I had like a flurry of catfish, 4 or 5 catfish. They were big buggers, you know, they were 35, 40 pounds, would tear me all around the swim and completely muck up the chances of catching a carp. So since then, the 2 sessions that I have been using particles and particles on the hair, I managed 2 carp. One was a belting 27 pound mirror. That was one of the originals, an absolute corker, big plates all along its shoulders, real grey, dark old thing. And then last night, I got here just after work, flicked the rods out on the spots after pre-baiting the day previously, and managed, I don't know, low to mid 20 common, sort of early hours of this morning. So I'm starting to get things right, I think. The lake itself's absolutely beautiful, as you can see, just there. You've got wild deer roaming the lake, and they're really tame as well. They let me stroke them, tickle their ears and all that sort of thing. They're really really beautiful creatures and ever so tame. One of the most stunning lakes I've ever fished. It's an old estate lake, it must be 6-7 acres, maybe 8 acres tops. Not many anglers here. There's some beautiful old originals. I wouldn't say it's stacked with big fish, but there's a couple of potential 40s that are real old battle axes, and they are stunners, real nice old fish. So I'm hoping to get amongst them. But yeah, really enjoying it so far. Caught that one this morning, woke up early and saw them showing off this down wall. They're bubbling up like crazy. There's a few jumping out, and I've got some hook baits on them and haven't spooked them. So I'm hoping there'll be a chance. So we'll see. One thing I did want to mention, it was before this lake, I flitted about on a real big pit. It was a little bit closer to home, and my first session I managed 5, which is pretty good because it's a monstrous pit, about got to be 40-50 acres. Found the fish, managed 5. 4 of those were stockies and 1 was a beautiful old dumpy old warrior. Definitely one of the originals of the lake. I was pretty made up with them. I'm definitely going to go back there at some point, maybe next season. But because I managed to get on here, I couldn't say no to the ticket. So can't wait to go back there, possibly next year. For now, I'm on this incredible estate lake, and I'm going to enjoy it. How about that one? Winkled off the surface. An old original. Absolute cracker. A few floaters out now. I've probably put 5 or 6 spom loads out there, and as you'll see, it's quite windy, but where I've been spomming the floaters out there, it's drifting nicely in the wind, and all the oil off of the floaters is creating a real nice slick on the top of the water. So what I'm trying to do is cast the floaters sort of upwind and just letting it drift all the way down. I'll keep popping them to the left hand side of the swim, drifting them down, and hopefully they'll start picking a few floaters up. The odd fish has come up already. It might be that I end up sort of fishing down the end right into the teeth of the wind where the floaters are pushed down, but for now I'm going to keep trickling mixers in and fish off the back of it, and hopefully they'll start having it. If not, I've got the stalking rod with me. There's some lovely little stalking spots, real snaggy little areas that I know they love to visit, so I'm going to put some floaters in, go around, feed a few spots near the snags, and hopefully we'll get a few fish feeding. Well, we're about half an hour on. I've introduced some floaters and bits into the water. They're not having it large on the floaters. I think it's still a little bit early. Normally later in the afternoon, sort of 3-4 o'clock, they'll get up on the surface. So I'm going to keep an eye on it and see what happens. But in the meantime, I never ever leave home without this little stalking rod. I've got some particles with me as well. In the bucket, I've got some sweet corn, some party blend, some tigers, a few Brazils, and some crushed up tuna. And that was because I just knew that if they weren't having it on the surface on this hot day, then they would be in the margins. The lake is really deep, it can go down into 20 foot in places, and they're not going to be feeding on that. So I've introduced a few little bits into the edge, and within 10 minutes we've got a few fish feeding. There's a few marginal spots up there that we're looking at. Like I said, I always come out with my stalking rod. This is just a little Nash dwarf rod. I think it's only, I don't know, it's got to be 5 or 6 foot in length. I'm tooled up with fluorocarbon mainline, a nice little flat pair, sort of 3 ounces, and a really short hook link just to lower onto those little marginal spots. Very, very simple. I've got fish feeding, a nice strong size 6 hook, which I'm going to put a little chopped tuna on. And yeah, that's about it really. Just going to go and lower it into the edge shortly, and hopefully we'll snare one. That's my bait, innit? I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah. Yes! Yes! How cool was that? What a lovely fish. Well, how about that? About 15 minutes fishing in the right spot. We actually watched it take the hook bait. It was feeding higher and higher up the shelf, and we may have even heard me saying, "He's going to have it. He's going to have it. He's got it," and off it went. So yeah, we saw it snaffle the hook bait, and this is the result. Fish about, I don't know, he might be mid doubles, 16 pound maybe, maybe slightly bigger. I don't know. It's a lovely fish all the same, and. He's a bit lively, calm. But while we're doing this, I can see in the corner of my eye that there's a few slurping mixers. So I think we're going to have a go on mixers next. See if we can catch one off the top. Right, well, I'm just setting up a surface rod now. I apologise for an inquisitive carp dog, because when I use dog biscuits he always wants to get in the bag, so if he gets in the way I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm just tying up a rig now, and just to take you through what I use. Mainline wise I'm using 12 pound adrenaline. That's quarter adrenaline. For me it's pretty neutral buoyancy, so it sits quite nicely on the upper layers. That goes through to one of the interceptor floats. As you can see there, that's one of the new ones. That's quite heavy because sometimes I'm fishing at distance, and also I like the fact that it acts as a bit of a bolt rig as well. It's nice and heavy, so it's almost like fishing on the bottom with a lead. As soon as the carp takes it, they quite often bolt and hook themselves. When I'm using a nice fine diameter hook link, that's 9 pound end gauge. I always use this. It's tough as old boots, pretty thin, really inconspicuous, and definitely my favourite floater hook link. That goes through to a nice small inconspicuous size 10 hook, and to that I'm using a whittled down Odyssey XXX, and that's been soaked in Jeff Kemp's Mellow Brandy. The reason I'm using a XXX is because it pretty much matches the floaters that I'm using, the same sort of browny colour, and I've whittled it down to that size as well. Floaters themselves are just our own CC Moore floating pellets. I've got two sizes, the bigger ones and the smaller ones. Quite often the carp will start feeding on the little ones first, and as they gain a bit more confidence they'll take the bigger ones. So it's good to mix them. That's about it really. I've got a few fish feeding out there at the moment in the wind. Might be tricky presenting the baits in the wind, but I'm hopeful. So I'm going to tie it up now and chuck it out there, see if I can catch another one. Well, unfortunately I couldn't catch another one, but we managed to get one on camera, take everything, which I'm really happy with, and it's a beautiful common. It's been a bit tricky today on the surface for some reason. I think it's because it was so windy, we couldn't really get a very good presentation. And the spot where I actually thought we'd catch one off the bottom on, out of the margin spot, they were really, really wary in the end. I don't know why. They couldn't see us, we were hiding behind the trees and everything, but they were just backed off the spot, sort of 5 yards out in the deeper water, which weren't ideal. So I'm happy though, we were only fishing for 3 or 4 hours, we caught a lovely carp, and I'm going to go home, have a cider and enjoy the sunshine. Well, good morning, and what a great morning it's been so far. I've woke up nice and early, I was getting loads of liners, and had a belting run on my right hand rod, sort of 20 yards down the bank, about 20 yards out, just fishing in some silt, and landed a beautiful common, mid-20-ish. I ain't weighing many of them here, they're just absolutely stunning, and weights are relevant really, unless they look like a real big one, then I'm not bothering. They're beautiful fish. I'm just happy with a couple of nice snaps and memories really, but I've got the rod back out, that's back on the spot, and I started receiving some liners on my middle rod, and lo and behold it's absolutely ripped off, and I have got an incredible, beautiful scaly backed mirror. So she's in the net now, just have a look. Look at those big scales. Oh yes. A little kink in her peck, or even a little kind of old split, I guess. But it is a corker, and I cannot wait to see her. So let's get her out. Well, how about that one for an old creature? Look at the size of its shoulders. Big deep shoulders, huge scales along its shoulders and back. And I am well happy with that one. What an awesome, awesome old carp. Well chuffed with that one.